So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. My name's Andy Sleeth, and I'm the International Marketing Manager at GL Education. We'll start the presentation shortly, but first a little bit of housekeeping. During the presentation, we're going to keep everybody on mute. This helps us keep to schedule, and then we'll do all of the Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you've got a question for Veer at any point during the presentation, just type that into the Q&A box. You'll find that at the bottom of the screen. You might need to move your mouse around a little bit to pop the dialog box up. Type your question in there and address it to the panel, and I'll relay that to Veer at the end of the session. I'd just like to warn you, we're not really monitoring the chat box, so if you put a question there, there's a good chance we're going to miss it. So do please stick to the Q&A box. Again, if you've got any technical questions, address those to the host, and our colleague Nanette Sanderman, who's in the background in the events team, will pick those up and try and resolve those for you. We are recording this session, and we'd expect the link to be available in about 48 hours so that you can share this with any of your colleagues who are unable to attend us. Veer Shah is our Senior International Schools Consultant, who focuses mainly on schools in the Africa region, but he also looks after our Assessment Excellence Programme for our international schools. So with no further ado, I'll hand you over to Veer.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. So the Assessment Excellence Programme for international schools is something which started towards the beginning of this year and has grown fairly steadily since then. So the purpose of this session really is to provide you with an introduction to exactly what the assessment programme entails, the kinds of things that you should be doing to be eligible for the programme, and also the nomination process at the end as well. So I'll go through all of that during the presentation, and as Andy said, please feel free to use the Q&A box for any additional questions that you have which I may not cover. So to start off with, I just thought I would give you a quick introduction in terms of our aims and kind of reasons for starting an assessment excellence programme, and trying to work closely with partner schools to help develop their understanding of their students, but also to support the wider school population in specific regions and globally as well. So obviously at GL Education, our kind of aim is really to help schools to get a complete understanding of each individual learner's needs. And through the Partner Schools programme, we really aim to further that aim, as it were. And the partnerships with individual schools will hopefully ensure that we are able to deliver the best outcomes for students in our partner schools, but also in other schools and their pupils around the world. So what are the why would a school want to become a partner school? Why would you want to join our Assessment Excellence Programme? So really the core purpose of the programme is to give individual schools recognition for their excellent use of GL data. So typically partner schools will have been using our data for a certain amount of time, typically 1 year or more, but it's not just about the time that the data has been used for, it's also how well the data is embedded within the school and its processes. So it's really an opportunity to give recognition for use of GL assessment data in various different positive ways. It also gives schools the opportunity to become a local expert in terms of their use of GL assessment, with the potential to support other schools in the region. So again, it's about I guess sharing your expertise with other schools in the area, so that schools are able to grow and improve together. But it also gives you again that recognition and that status of kind of being a learning school, and a school which is kind of an example of really good practice in a particular region. It also provides you with the opportunity to give us feedback on our assessments. So if you do have any particular thoughts or ideas for improvement or anything that you think could be done better, we do have the opportunity for schools to take part in focus groups and informally provide us feedback as well, which could potentially influence the future direction that the assessments take. And finally, we understand that schools are constantly in flux, and we also understand that there are always areas for improvement and training needs. So we do provide access to online and also in-person training to support partner schools with their development as centres of excellence in terms of their use of data. And quite often we do have spaces on courses which are normally paid for, which we're able to provide to a certain extent for free to schools to gain access to those extra pieces of training to help them along on their data journey. So the Assessment Excellence Programme consists of 3 different kind of strands. It's kind of a step-by-step process, really. So a school may start off as a certified centre, and I'll go through the particular characteristics of each individual part of the programme in a moment. But a school may start off as a certified centre. It may then become an advocate partner, which is kind of the next level. And then our key kind of flagship schools around the world may become GL, International Centres of Excellence. And each of these kind of steps, or each of these different strands of the programme has different characteristics in terms of what we expect from schools and the commitment and the benefits, as well as nomination criteria, which I will go through in a minute as well. So to start off with, certified centre is where we would expect these kinds of characteristics from the school. So typically a certified centre is a user of at least 1 core assessment. That could be CAT4, progress test, PASS, NGRT, any core assessment that we offer. Ideally, you will have been using that core assessment for at least 1 year. It could be more, but minimum of 1 year. We would also expect that you have a specific person who's responsible for GL education data within the school, so responsible for analysing that data, sharing that data with colleagues, and that person needs to have a really good understanding of the data and what it's used for. And ideally, they also would have completed a course with us, one of our training courses, which for which there's information on our website, just to ensure that they have a minimum level of understanding and knowledge, and they're able to cascade that knowledge to colleagues within the school to ensure that the data is really being embedded, particularly across leadership. So if you're able to demonstrate a willingness to embed that data further across your leadership practice, then you definitely be kind of suitable to become a certified centre. So moving on to advocate partner, a few more kind of expectations here. So a typical advocate partner will be using at least 2 core assessments. They should be kind of complementary to each other. So for example, CAT4 and progress tests. So you can analyse ability against attainment and track that over time. Or CAT4 and PASS, so you can identify fragile learners, for example, and you're using a combination of data to help your students to make progress, and you're really kind of embedding that more clearly into the classroom, so into classroom practice, as well as leadership practice. So this would mean that your teachers are actively trying to use the CAT4 data in lesson planning, for example, and using it for differentiation and that kind of thing. So it's really clearly embedded into the day-to-day practice of your teaching staff. Again, you will need to have been using the data for at least 1 year. And again, you'll need somebody who's responsible for GL data within the school. That could be somebody on the senior leadership team, or it could be a different individual. But we would expect that person, and also somebody from the leadership team who has responsibility for assessment or curriculum, to have also completed a course with us. Again, just to ensure that that data is being used to its full extent, and everyone has a minimum level of knowledge which they are actively trying to cascade through the school. At this level, we would also expect that the school is working towards using their assessment in such a way that they're able to provide a short blog post or article describing a particular way that they've used an element of the data, or if they've done some kind of data triangulation, how that's being used in the classroom, and really kind of clearly demonstrating that the GL data is having a day-to-day or a leadership impact within the school. So it's really about kind of allowing you to showcase what you're doing, and sharing that with a wider audience, whether that's within your country, within your region, or globally. And these blog posts are typically published on our website, so they would reach a global audience. So again, that's quite a nice sort of way for you to showcase what you're doing as a school, and really get your name out there. And finally, Centre of Excellence. So this is our final level, and as you can see here, it's really about kind of bringing it all together. So triangulating data across multiple assessments, if possible. So for example, or progress tests, NGRT and PASS, or any combination of those. And I guess the difference with the advocate partner here is that data is embedded at all levels of the school. So you're using it at a governance level, you're using it at to share information with parents. It really forms a core part of all of the work that you do at school, and complements your other data gathering processes. So it's really about that deep embedding of GL data across the school. We would expect multiple years of use for this, simply because it does take a bit of time to get to that level. So quite often we find schools start off with one assessment and then build up from that over a number of years, to ensure that they are using the data and the assessment to its full use. In terms of kind of responsibility, we would again expect a member of staff that's responsible for GL data. We would also hope that SLT and key teachers, so for example, heads of departments, have completed a course and they're able to cascade that information to their individual departments and areas of responsibility, again, to feed towards the idea that the data is embedded across all levels of the school. We would also, at this stage, hope to see that schools are actively sharing data in some form with pupils, so that they're developing their metacognition, and they're able to kind of use what the data is saying about them to help them improve themselves. In terms of other kind of expectations, again, a blog post and article, which is very similar to the advocate partner, but also a speaker at events. So this could be an online event, a webinar such as this. Just yesterday, I did a webinar with the principal of CIS Lagos, which is one of our centres of excellence. And that was about how that school are using the GL data to inform their strategic plans, and also their leadership team, and how they're using that data. So really about, again, showcasing what you're doing as a school, giving you the opportunity to summarize everything you've done with GL data and share that with a fairly wide audience. So for example, we had people from about 20 different countries on the webinar yesterday. So it does give you access to that audience, and really demonstrating kind of what you're doing with your GL data as a centre of excellence. So just to talk a bit more about the commitment. So actually the length of the commitment is 2 years, and then that can be reviewed and lengthened or finished at that point. All of these responsibilities are not, I wouldn't say they're onerous. We don't, there's no pressure to get them done all at once. You do have, 2 years to really kind of get to grips with what you're doing and provide these different things to us at any point in those 2 years. So although it may seem like a fairly long list, especially as we get to the Centre of Excellence, it's really about complementing what you're already doing and adding to that in a way that's useful both for you and also beneficial for us as well. So as a certified centre, it would be things like providing a short quote on why you use our assessments, why you like them and the difference they make. Speaking to us on an informal basis, really, about any significant developments in your region, and also agreeing to be listed as a customer referee, so that if there are any schools in your region who are interested in our assessments, they've got somebody local that they can speak to. And of course, this would be on agreement with you. We wouldn't bombard you with a huge list of people to speak to. It would just be one or two on the odd occasion if the need came about. So as an advocate partner, again, some similar kind of commitments. The differences here are you might offer your support to local schools if that's something that you want to get involved with, particularly those who are new to our assessments, and of course providing a blog post as well. So that would be typically one per year, just on something that you're working on in that particular moment in time. So it could be student wellbeing, it could be literacy, it could be using their CAT4 data to support students with their metacognition. It could be any kind of topic that you're kind of working on at that point. And that partnership also runs for 2 years with a review at the end. And finally, the Centre of Assessment Excellence. So similar points really to the previous parts of the programme, except the difference here is really it's more about kind of providing a speaker for in-person events whenever those are possible and feasible again. At the moment, it's more for our online webinars and any conferences which are hosted or attended by us as GL Education. There is also a commitment to provide a case study at some point during your 2-year commitment. So a case study is a slightly more detailed version of a blog, really, and it's kind of telling a wider story, giving a broader picture of how your school are using GL assessments and what impact they've had on your school. And again, this is really to showcase what you're doing with the data, to support other schools with what they're doing with their data, and to give them further ideas as to how they can use their data. So it's really about kind of encouraging that collaboration within and across schools in a region and also globally. When we're able to visit countries, we would typically go to our centres of excellence first to see if they're able to provide a venue for our workshops and seminars, which are typically led by our trainers and our consultants. And they usually have about 20 attendees, but could be up to 30. So if we are a region, we would hope that you'd be able to provide a space for us to be able to do this. Participation in focus groups as well. So again, I guess this applies to advocate partners and certified centres as well. We do occasionally have focus groups on different topics, which are focused on specific assessments or more general ones. So it'd be great to get your insights into what you think in those particular areas. And then I've talked about the other three already in the other part, so they're just similar to those really. So benefits for schools, which I've touched on already, but you get the opportunity to access some sort of training to help your development, as well as some free spaces and workshops, recognition in the form of partner certificate and logo, some level of discount as well for some of the different levels of partnership, and of course the opportunity to provide feedback to us on specific regional developments on our assessments, the opportunity to raise your profile by speaking to prospective local new users of our assessments, and by taking part in case studies, webinars, and also speaking at events. So that they're the kind of key benefits. And then to break those down a bit more, spoken about the promoting the school as a partner school, so kind of that recognition bit, increasing your local visibility as an excellent user of data and an expert assessment. The opportunity to develop yourself also and your teachers by attending training and support sessions. The opportunity to contribute to research and development as well, so that the assessments that we are providing and developing are really suitable for both your needs as partner schools, but also the wider group of schools that we work with around the world. And the opportunity to kind of contribute to that development. We also have a very new benefit as well. Evidence-based education is an organisation that supports schools to enhance the quality of their teaching and learning through innovative, impactful, and engaging professional learning. We have negotiated a discount on 2 courses, so the Assessment Essentials course and the Assessment Lead Programme course, which both support schools to make the best of their assessment more widely beyond kind of just their GL data. There's varying levels of discount available, which I'm happy to provide more information on if you drop me an email. But there is more information about each of these courses at these links. Just to give you a bit of an outline, it's really about kind of supporting teachers to get insights from leading kind of assessment experts and supporting them in developing their kind of assessment practice. So yeah, that's a benefit that's exclusively available for partner schools. So just briefly, I want to just tell you about our current partners. So as you can see, it's a fairly wide geographical spread. We started the Assessment Excellence Programme just this year, and we've got 7 partner schools currently, 3 centres of assessment excellence, 1 advocate partner, and 3 certified centres. So 7 in total, spread all across the world. We'd love to add you to that growing group of partner schools. And just to give you an idea of the schools and what they've done. So these are the schools they're listed on the left. So CIS Lagos, the French International School in Hong Kong, International School Brunei, Scholars International Academy in Sharjah, the Finnish School of Kosovo, the British School Alexandria, and Malvern College in Cairo, Egypt. So they've all done various different things with us. So we've spoken at events such as the Africa Future Learning Summit last month, and also the Festival of Reading also last month. They have written blog posts with us, taking part in various different surveys and focus groups, and also had the opportunity to develop their assessment practice by taking part in training courses. Quite often they've been offered free places on these. So see a wide range of kind of opportunities to raise their profile as a school, develop their assessment practice, and also support other schools in the area to develop their assessment practice as well. And all of this information about these schools is available on our website, on the Partner Schools page. Okay, so almost finished. I just wanted to kind of give you an insight into what the nomination process is. So schools nominate themselves, and this is done by filling in a short form which is really an opportunity for you to reflect on what you're doing with your assessments and what you're doing as an establishment. We want to obviously make this an inclusive program, but there is an expectation that schools are using the assessments in a positive way and in a way which is developing their assessment program and what they are doing as a school. So to do that, the nomination form asks some key questions around your reasoning for using our assessments, and also thinking about the difference they make to your school. Then also thinking about what you do specifically with the data that the assessments provide, with a view to considering which of the three kind of program strands you fit into. So are you like a certified centre? Are you an advocate partner? Or are you a centre of excellence? There is opportunity to develop within the program. So if you start off as a certified centre and then demonstrate that you're doing everything necessary to develop into an advocate partner or a certified centre, it's certainly possible to do that within the 2 years. So it's not fixed. We do really want to support schools with their development through joining the program. And exactly kind of to that, what would you like to improve in terms of your GL data use, and what can you do yourself to support that, and what can we do as an organisation to support you with that through the Assessment Excellence Programme. And this is more for advocate partners and centres of excellence. Quite simply, are you able to provide a venue? And also, do you have a particular area of assessment expertise that you speak about? And is that and is there something that you want to develop into something that you're able to speak about that you're already doing? So again, it's not supposed to be a pressurized process. It's just supposed to give you an opportunity to reflect and really think about which level you would like to join the program at. Okay, so next steps. If you're interested in becoming a partner school, then please fill in the form at that link. We will send that to you when we send the recording out as well. So I'll be happy to take any questions now. I think Andy might have some for me.
Sure, thanks, Veer. We've got a couple of questions already, and let me just remind you, if you do have a question, use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen and address that to the panel, and we'll pick that up, pass it on to Veer. First question we've got really, I think someone's after a bit of clarification on this. How long should they have been using assessments for in order to be one of these different types of partner? This feeling to have about 5 years experience and and a track record of data use. What's your guide to somebody who might be a bit earlier in their journey as to how they might be able to sort of get involved in this?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like I was saying, it really is a process of development and it's meant to be a supportive process. So if you're, for example, 3 years into your journey and you feel like you fit into the characteristics of one of the levels of the program, that's fine. Apart from the kind of 1 year minimum, which is only there because we think it takes a certain amount of time to properly embed the data into your school. If you're beyond that 1 year, then it's really about thinking about what you're doing with that data. So it's not so much tied to how long you've been using it for, and more about what you're doing with it, really. So you could be 3 years into your journey, but you're already using it, and it's further embedded than a school who's 5 or 6 years into their journey. So and that doesn't mean that you can't join the program. It just means that you've got there a bit faster, and you're ready to join at whatever level you think is appropriate. And if you would like a conversation about that, I'd be happy to arrange a meeting to discuss further.
Thanks for that. Next question is around use of assessment. So do they have to be using all GL education assessments, or could they be using a blend where they're using some of our assessments and somebody else? Can they still get involved in the scheme?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for the certified centre, it's one assessment. For centre of excellence, it is kind of a combination of a few assessments. But that's not to say that can't be other assessments. Obviously, the GL assessments should be at the core of what they're doing, but if they're also using other assessments which are internal or external alongside those, and that's also well embedded and working well together, then that's absolutely fine.
Okay, that's great. Next question, I'm probably going to pick up there because of the nature of it. Somebody's asked, will we be making the complete digital solution available for international schools, which is a package that has been available in the UK for a couple of years? The answer to that is it's under review at the moment. I don't think that particular blend is probably what we're going to do based on feedback we've had, but we are reviewing that situation and looking at what sort of program we might be able to put in place for the start of the next academic year. So if anybody has got any interest in that, get in touch with us and we'd be more than happy to pick up that conversation with them. I think that's it. There's a couple of questions that really we'll probably take offline because they're very sort of point questions on product. So we'll do that. Nothing else specifically on the program here. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody that joined us today. Hope you found it very useful. As I say, we'll process this recording. We'll have it out by the end of the week so that you can share it with colleagues and decide whether you want to get involved, which I would strongly recommend. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thanks everyone.